Hi, I'm Colin and welcome to How to Paint Watercolours. So if you're ready, we'll get started and we'll paint this one. Hi everybody, welcome to How to Paint Watercolours with me again, Colin. And what I thought we'd do with this one, because I had some paint left over and I normally save it and reuse it somewhere else, I thought we would reuse it on here. Now I've just stretched a piece of 140 pound Bockingford paper and now I'm just leaving a thin film of water on it. Go around the sides with a brush. This removes any excess water from collecting underneath your paper and then causing runbacks. So we'll get straight on. We'll do a two-stage sky with this, and what I'm going to set off with is some nickel yellow. Into that nickel yellow, or around that nickel yellow, I just want to put some violet into the sky, which was made by indigo phthalo blue and permanent rose. This is Naples yellow and cadmium orange, and I just want to pull this into the yellow and into the purple. And here we have some indigo and phthalo blue, just testing its strength. It will dry a lot lighter. So I'm just going to put that on there for a minute, and then I'm going to take a wet brush and just add some water to it to thin it out. Bring it over the land at the back here. Careful when you go into the yellow, that's why I'm not working it into the yellow, just in case we get a green, and we really don't want that. So moving into the phthalo blue and indigo again, up into this corner. And I'm basically pulling it in at 45-degree angles, and then later on we'll be re-wetting it and we'll be laying some clouds all the way across this. But we just need to get this in first. A bit of a stronger mix at the top. As you can see, it's got a lovely violet mix to it. I'm using a filbert brush at the moment, but you use a round brush, any brush that you feel comfortable with. With a damp brush, just pull it across. Try not to play with it too much. I'm sometimes guilty of that myself, so I should take my own advice. Blue down into the purple, bring the colours together, taking up any liquid or moisture that might be congregating around the edge. I just want to pull some of that in and out. And so we'll leave this to dry. As you can see, the sky has dried out. Well, it's still damp, but it still needs to dry out. But we can put the sea part in, and doesn't that look spectacular? All that granulation, love it. Nickel yellow again. So I've just re-wet the sea area. Also into that we need to run some of this tangerine colour, which is the cadmium orange and Naples yellow, through this as well. Once again, this is the indigo phthalo blue with a touch of permanent rose, or a lot of permanent rose, just to add the violets in, to bring them all to a vanishing point, which is round about up here. And also into that we need the blue, indigo and phthalo blue. Taking a damp brush and just feathering it out. This is a Naples yellow, indigo and phthalo blue with permanent rose, and we're just going to darken some areas. This is an opaque colour, so we'll actually push the other colours out of the way. Just a tiny bit in there, and then we're going to leave that to dry. Okay, I've set the board at a slight angle, and what we're going to do here, wetting to wet, we're going to put some nice colours in. So I'm going back to my box because I only need a little bit, and this is a cadmium yellow, which will help bring out some highlights when we put the shadows in. cadmium orange, because there's orange in the sky, and I may want to have it fairly strong at certain points just to overemphasize it. And I'm just going to let this, you know, run and just let it bleed in where it wants to. Then while we have that there like that, I'm going to bring some of the orange to the sky. Just let me shut my box, and I'm going to pull this and push it into the building to attach it to the ground here. Just a little bit of the violets to go in here as well. Now you're probably thinking, what, violet in the land? No, this will serve as an underpainting. Put some of this in. So this one's a little bit more complicated than the ones we have done previous, but I think you will manage to do this. What it does show you is the amount of drying time that you actually need. This is a relatively strong mixture of the phthalo blue, indigo and rose, permanent rose, and I want to drop this just down the side here and then allow it to creep over into the orange and create some of the highlights. Also pulling it into the ground, it doesn't matter, it will just attach itself there. Just lifting a little bit out as we go. I hope you can see this coming out. We'll get the chimney in first. I'll add some into the wall here. Some dark along the bottom. And I'm afraid we have to leave this to dry slightly, but I think we might just get away with actually just dropping some more colour into here. This is a strong mix, put a bit of blue in it, and just create some lumps and bumps. This will all soften off. Touch of the blue. And now we're going to allow all this to soften. Purple into there while we create the beach. Just needs a little bit of water, but not too much. And I'm just going to create the shoreline. Keep everything fluid. Okay, and now we're going to leave that to dry. Okay, this is dry enough to work on now. What you're going to do is we're going to re-wet the sky area, and we'll pull some big clouds across, cutting across the sky, so it gives it more dynamic impact. If it was to follow the same shape as the way the sky is done, it tends to have a linear line, so we don't want to do that. So always remember, this is a totally wet brush. It's 1.5 inch, and you always go from light to dark. Re-wet the brush from light to dark, from light to dark. Just check that it's wet everywhere, that you've got it. This is just a little bit too wet to put the clouds in, but what we will do is we'll have to wait a little while until the shine starts to go off the paper. And once the shine starts to go off the paper, we can then add the other colours on top of it. But I think what we can do while we're here is just take a little of this mixture of the indigo and phthalo blue with a touch of permanent rose. That may be a little strong. But I might just add some of the violet colour to that and just mix it up a bit to keep it in keeping with everything else. This is the headland. Touch more blue. Touch more of the violet. And we might just lift a little bit of paint off here as we want this to recede, like so. Bring that up there, lift some out here just to create a little bit of mist while we're still waiting for the sky. I think what we can do is we can move on to the sea. It's just to lay some movement down, shaping it as you go, just to create some waves and movement. This is the Naples yellow with the permanent rose and the indigo and phthalo blue. Keep creating the shapes. You get the general idea. Very gently softening off the edges. This could take you quite some time, but it allows the water to sink into the paper that's on the sky. That blue in here as well. Some water. Keep blending it. And just keep dampening the brush, but wetting the brush, then taking the excess water off. Move on to a darker colour. Just scrubbing the brush, bringing it darker in this area. Have a look. Now, that's still a bit damp yet. I think what we can do, get ready to mix up a green, as this is the blue violet, and we're going to make a grey green. Mix some out of that as well, just to keep it going. And being it's evening time, you won't see bright green because it just doesn't exist at night. Once again, I'm just going to take some Rheolin, push it into this colour, some Rheolin to this one. Okay, wash that out. Take some of the blue violet, sorry, the red violet, just to bring that down, and just to bring that down as well. Touch at a time. Now you can understand why I normally mix it up before we start. I need that just to be a little bit greener. That's the lighter one. Okay, I do need a darker one actually here. And I might need a fair amount of it. Clean brush all the way across, just re-wet the area in this corner here where the hills and the land are. This is the lighter green, grey green or purpley green. So we'll just add some shapes in. And I do want some of the purple to show through, some dark green, maybe just a little bit more red into that. It really needs to go down really far. I'm sending it down again, I'm taking it towards the red side where I need it. Bring some tufts of grass like you find in sand dunes. Let me just check it. It's still a little bit too wet. We'll have to give it a few more minutes before we leave it to dry. I'm just using some of the blue violet and I'm just sharpening the edges up on this hillside. You'll be surprised how light it will dry. Okay, the water in the sky looks like it's yeah, it's at the right stage. And this is the violet, which is on the red side. And I'm just going to press some of this in. Take some even redder ones, put that in and pull that. Just create some interesting shapes. You have a whole mixture of violets you can put in here. Just a little bit of water dabbed on the end of the brush, just to pale this down. Soften some of this off on the underside or wherever you feel you might need it. This is a very dark, the blue violet, and we're really going to put that in over the top of the red violet. Good mixture, and I think I want to put some in here. I do want some of the orange to show through. This needs to be dark. Soften off the underside of the clouds with a damp brush. Let's bring some of that violet in here. And also a little bit of that blue. And sometimes you have to have patience before you can move on to the next part. So the hope, this is what I'm teaching you, that you have to know when the timing is right. Okay, I've left it a few minutes and I'm just going to take a damp brush, so that's just clean water, take the excess off, and we're just going to put some shapes into this cloud, just a little bit, just to add some softness. And if you have a look, if you've been very good and it's all worked out for you, you won't have disturbed too much of the colour underneath. Then we can start to soften out some of these edges here just by lifting the paint off the bottom. And remember that the paint is creeping all the time because it's still wet, but because your brush is dry almost, you should be able to lift the paint off without much trouble, and you should end up with soft dynamic shapes. Just a little bit more. Right, I'm in danger of fiddling, so I'm just going to do one tiny bit more under here. Okay, that's it. Okay, we're getting a bit closer now, and this is just some indigo and phthalo blue with a little bit of the purple added into it. I'm just going to very gently side to this building, bring the shadow sort of across the chimney and shadow up along here. I need it inside here where it would cast a shadow, and now you can understand why I've left the orange showing with the yellow. Just adds a little bit of interest. It makes it look like the light has caught it. This is a watery mix, it's already showing through the yellow underneath. I could actually darken it a little bit more, but we'll see how this one dries first. With an even weaker mix, I'm just going to suggest there's a little bit of shadow on here. It's been cast. A lot of water in this one now. As we come around to the front, a bit more than that. Just leaving a little light exposed there. Just soften the top edge of these, and also soften this edge. Take some paint out if you have to. I think I will have to. But also remembering to darken it up in the bottom. And with the really dark mix now, I'm just going to put the arch in there. I should have used a smaller brush, but never mind. I'm going to have to wait let this dry a little bit, I think. And whilst we're waiting for it to dry, I think what we'll do is we will run this up the beach. Just a little water. And once again with this purple mix, and I'm going to add it to this here just to send it sort of brownish, and then to bring this edge out, let's hope it doesn't run, I'm going to place the dark right up against it so that the light shows at the bottom, teasing it backwards. Leaving some light patches. I'm going to leave some there as well. Pull it back. Just put a little bit of movement in it. I'm slowly getting to the end of it now. I've just added a little bit of water to this colour here. It's a bit of everything. So there's no real mixing involved in it, and what I'm just going to do is just indicate maybe some brickwork. Not everywhere, it's just a suggestion, it's not, it just adds a little bit more to it. Okay, I'm going to leave this to completely dry now, and once it's completely dry, and I mean bone dry, we're just going to scrape the tops of some of these waves off here just to add a little bit of sparkle like the sun's catching it. Then we'll sign it and then you can frame it. Okay, your painting's dried now. I've just put in a couple of white gulls in a dark patch to make them stand out, to balance the picture off, because it's weighted on the right hand side. I've scratched a few wave tops in with the craft knife and just put a couple of brick lines in here just to add a little bit more sparkle to this. But now you can get round to the favourite bit, which is signing it, mounting it and framing it. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please click the like button and subscribe. Always remember, subscribing costs you nothing. And if you want to have a go at something a little bit more traditional, I'll leave a link in the description box for a full list of videos that I've made. Thank you very much for watching.